The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Salem Media of Hawaii.
Welcome to Hawaii Money Resource with financial advisor Marko Mijuskovic.
Marko Mijuskovic is registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities LLC, 7 Hanover Square, New York, 10004, and at Bell Strategy Partners, 677 Ala Moana Boulevard, Suite 720, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. This show is for informational purposes only. Individual risk tolerance and investment objectives must be reviewed prior to making any specific recommendations.
And now your host, Marko Mijuskovic.
Welcome back. You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource. My name is Marko Mijuskovic, Senior Partner at Bell Strategy Partners, also Certified Exit Planner. You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource exclusively every Wednesday night at 760 KGU. And something new for our listeners, you can find us on FM. It's not AM radio anymore. It's 95.1 FM and also 760 AM. So if you're confused, pretty much you can find us on both sides, AM and FM. Hawaii Money Resource, like I said, exclusively Wednesday night, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. driving time. While you're stuck in traffic, you can tune in, AM, FM, and find us and hear our stories. When we do have a guest, like today, we have a guest that will be covering his success and his business. But when we do not have a guest, we cover how to grow your business so one day you can exit in style. Hawaii Money Resource, another news for you, our listeners out there. If you Google us and find us online at HawaiiMoneyResource.com, you will see that now we are part of Money Resource Media. And Money Resource Media is just a bunch of guys enthusiastic about radio show, trying to promote and share the business story across the nation. So we have a Las Vegas, we have a Hawaii and a bunch of other states that you can pretty much listen and see what the business owners, not only in Hawaii, doing, but also in the other states. So let's start today. Let's don't waste any more time. We're going to do some self-promotion later on. Let's talk and introduce our guest today, Dan Haugen. He is the lead person for Cookstop, Stovetop Fire Prevention System. His business is from California, and we imported him just for this radio show today so he can share his story. Dan, welcome to Hawaii Money Resource.
Thank you very much, Marko.
Perfect. If you can just come a little bit closer to the microphone so
Sure.
people can hear you better. Dan, I appreciate you being here today with us. I know that your business, you're growing your business and you're mostly in California. Tell us a little bit about, 30 seconds, what your business is all about.
So Cookstop is a business designed around preventing unattended cooking fires. In other words, we want to encourage people to pay attention to their cooking while they're in the kitchen.
Is that possible? While Korean drama is running on TV. Right.
That's correct. That's correct.
Good. So your office is mainly in California. What brings you to Hawaii?
Well, my wife, actually, she brings me to Hawaii a lot more often than either of us anticipated in the last few years. We met over here in Hawaii. I was stationed here, and so we bounce back and forth now about 4 times a year. And so while we're over here, we want to spread the word and evangelize about the business.
Okay, so we're going to talk about business in our second segment, but before we go into that, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and who are you as a person?
Well, that's a deep and complex subject for most people of my age. But basically, I was stationed over here back in the 70s to 80s with the Navy, met my wife, and we've been together now over 38 years. So I'm mostly islander and some mainlander, and it's been the
best of both worlds.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. So I love coming back to Hawaii. I love all the islands, and it's always a great time when we're here. We actually have a place out in Makaha that we stay at when we're over here now, and so at some point we're looking at coming over and staying for permanent or year-round.
Okay, that sounds good. I mean, the weather, who can beat this weather over here, and people too. So then, you've been in the business for a while, and at the same time, you're running a business, you have personal life. How do you balance, and how do you manage those two?
Well, it can be quite pressing on a person, both business and business life and personal life. Basically, though, you've got to take the breaks, and that's what my wife is there for. If I didn't have her, pushing me to take a break, then we would be 24/7 and take a few breaks for sleep sometimes, I think. But there's always a crisis coming up. There's always something to be addressed, whether it's vendors, suppliers, customers, just the natural business life. But, you've got to take those breaks and balance it out. Somebody once told me working or keeping your life in balance is like a balloon. You can push so hard one direction, but if you don't stop pushing, you're going to break the balloon. So you've got to keep that whole balloon in a spherical balance, and that's why she's such a great balancing component on me.
How do you guys organize your time? How do you manage your time?
Well, she basically, we start off with the typical day, and as most people do, and we then look at the business objectives and the personal objectives and schedule everything in. One of the things we recently did was schedule in back in April and hike the Grand Canyon. So we hiked down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon and stayed overnight a couple of times, and then a couple of nights, and then hiked back up, which was all in all, with the drive and everything, about a week out of business. But with that, and fortunately with the internet and distribution, everything else,
you can run your business from there as well.
You can, you can't run from the bottom of the Grand Canyon. There's no internet service.
Okay, so that's a lucky
yeah.
Okay, very good. And then, when you are not at work and you're not engaged, I guess you guys like to travel, like to hike, like to be out there in the nature. What else do you do for fun? Have any hobbies?
Yeah, we like going skiing, and so in the winter we go skiing in South Lake Tahoe a lot of times, and this year I think we're looking at getting over to Park City, Utah, and seeing that area. And one of our bucket lists is getting up to Whistler and skiing and hiking up in Whistler.
Just regular ski resort skiing?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's interesting. Anything else? Anything, something that you can share with our listeners that not so many people know about you?
Well, that's not. I didn't start
whatever
off,
you can share. I mean.
Yes. So I didn't start off in business. Actually, doing this business, I worked as a technician for computer companies for several years, and then I ended up going into teaching for companies. So when a new product came out, I would be out there teaching that to their vendors and their customers ahead of time. Prime example, a lot of people probably will recognize is that, remember the days in the internet when you had to use a modem and dial up?
Yeah.
Well, I was working for the company
teaching. That was like 2 years ago.
Right. Only 2 years ago here, huh?
Right.
Well, I was the guy that was out there teaching the ISPs how to install the modem banks and the differences and how to configure different devices. I then worked for a company that actually designed a lot of the products for DSL deployments for the phone companies. And we were out there on the cutting edge, 2 years before, teaching the phone companies how to install the DSL devices to run out their business. And so everything I've been doing is based in technology. And at some point, we knew this was going to come to an end, and so.
Okay, so save that story for a little bit later on. Interesting. I mean, you were in a training and development prior to starting your own business. So sounds like one of these when you kind of like working for someone. And one point you got kind of sick and tired of like just working for someone and building someone else's dream, and then you venture off and start your own business. Today's guest is Dan Haugen. You can find him online. Our website is cookstop.com. Cookstop.com, cookstop.com. Do you want to share the phone number or website is enough?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, so 408-929-8808. It's a phone number. I suggest that you visit their website first just to see what they're doing and then go from there. You're listening Hawaii Money Resource exclusively every Wednesday night, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now we are on FM and AM, so AM 760 and 95.1 FM. Business, money, talk. Hawaii Money Resource. Check us online, hawaiimoneyresource.com, part of the Money Resource Media now. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
That's when I know my baby and I will have a good time. dip, hop, dip, 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 dip.
760 KGU.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
The vet had them on antibiotics as well as steroids. Nothing worked.
The vet had given him a cortisone.
The vet prescribed an antihistamine.
The vet thought that Molly was just old.
Probably $300 to $400 every 4 months.
At least $5,000 in vet bills.
All total, $2,700 in doggy fees, and all it took was one container of Dinovite.
DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000.
The omega-3 fatty acids, flaxseed, zinc, alfalfa, the digestive enzymes that are cooked out of regular dog food.
The ingredients are what the veterinarian said he was lacking.
Within 2 days, his scratching, it seemed to go away.
After 5 weeks, her fur is beautiful. She is totally happy. Molly's gotten this puppy look. Her coat has sheen.
Oh, yes.
Everything we tried failed except the Dinovite. My vet was completely blown away. 859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
For America's wounded warriors, sometimes coming home can be a battle in itself. Every one of them needs our support to meet the challenges they face every day. The USO provides Americans a way to offer that support to our wounded warriors and their families. Join us. Visit USO.org to learn how you can make a difference in their lives. The USO.
Every single year, millions of average Americans like you have their personal lives virtually destroyed. In an instant, you could lose control of your bank accounts, credit cards, and worse, your very reputation can be stolen and violated. If you or a loved one is a victim of identity theft, FastIDRecovery.com can help you get it all back. At FastIDRecovery.com, you can put your trust in experts in the field of credit score restoration, IRS fraud resolution, document and ID replacement, and more. Without a fully managed protection and restoration service like FastIDRecovery.com, it can take hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars to reclaim what identity thieves have stolen and fix the chaos they leave behind. Your peace of mind is as valuable as your assets, and FastIDRecovery.com will get everything back, including your sanity. Relief is a simple click away at FastIDRecovery.com. That's FastIDRecovery.com.
You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource with financial advisor Marko Mijuskovic. If you'd like to speak to Marko, either on the air or after the show, call toll-free from Oahu and the Outer Islands, 877-695-2102. That's 877-695-2102.
Welcome back. You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource every Wednesday night, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Also online, HawaiiMoneyResource.com, HawaiiMoneyResource.com. Don't forget our Business Exit Planning Hawaii.com website for those business owners looking to get out of their business in one point in the future. A lot of good information you can find there, Business Exit Planning Hawaii.com and HawaiiMoneyResource.com. Hawaii Money Resource now is not only AM 760 KGU, it's also 95.1 FM. So probably better quality sound, I guess, on an FM station than AM. So you know, sound even more terrible than we are right now because of my foreign accent. But anyway, let's go back to our guest today. We have a guest, Dan Haugen. Dan is the owner of Cookstop. Cookstop is a stovetop fire prevention. Judging by the name, probably something that people in Hawaii can definitely use it, especially if your building doesn't have a fire sprinklers, like a lot of buildings don't have. This can prevent a lot of damage and disaster. Dan, thanks so much for sharing a little bit about yourself and sharing about you and how you like to hike and, you know, ski and how eventually you will move with your spouse back to Hawaii and spend most of the time here. So let's kind of go down the memory lane as much as you can remember, because we didn't prepare you at all. This is all natural, organic. So you need to probably think hard to remember all the details. But give us a rundown how this all started, since you were a trainer and educator for different products in a technology department. So tell us the story.
Well, thanks again, Marco, for having us on today. As a trainer for high-tech companies, a lot of people think that traveling to different cities and such is, how would you say, glamorous. But
I guess living out of the suitcase.
Yeah, definitely living out of the suitcase and all the hotel rooms looking the same after a period of time. In a very short period of time, 18 months, I was in 22 different countries and several different times to England, Germany, France. So just because it was 22 countries didn't mean I made multiple trips to them. And so jet lag was my middle name at that point.
Okay. I know how they feel since I just got back from my trip. And it takes like a whole week to recover once you get back.
It does. And as you get older, I'll tell you, it takes longer.
Okay.
So, but basically, a friend of mine named Mike and I were on a business trip to Hong Kong, going from San Francisco to Hong Kong, and we were in the back of the plane, and he mentioned to me a story about his grandmother. He had come over to see his grandmother, came in the front door, and there she was, watching her favorite TV program, fast asleep, in her easy chair. And on the stove and behind her were flames 3 feet high. And so he told me that story, and he said, I often thought about that. He said, as he came forward, if I hadn't gotten there at that particular time, disaster could have happened.
Yeah, house burned down, grandma gone.
Yeah, and so basically, in that story, he said, I've always thought there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to turn off a stove if somebody gets distracted. And in today's day and age, we all get distracted. So it's not a matter of if, it's when. And so we stood in the back of the plane there, and I sketched out a schematic, a drawing, basically what I thought I would do and how I would accomplish the task of shutting off the stove. And from there, we came back after our business trip, and we started forming the company.
So, I mean, like, you got ideas. So it has to do with technology, right? It has to do something with the electronics and engineering, the whole process. But before we go into those details, like, there was some decisions that you needed to make. Like, it's not just his story, kind of like idea that you kind of like wanted to develop. It was probably years and years of what you were doing and piling that experience and piling the maybe, ideas and wanted to work for yourself, but you didn't really have a good chance on a final push to kind of take that leap of faith. So how did you get to that point to decide to say, yeah, let me do that? I mean, did you quit your job, or what was that transition process, or what is that time that led to that a particular moment?
The particular time that I decided I'm going to do this business full time.
Correct.
Well, that is true. We didn't just cash out our 401ks and jump both feet into it. There was a lot of engineering that went on. There was a lot of expense in that. So both of us working at that point in time, putting money in and making that project move forward. Took us about 2 years of engineering work to get the product to a initial release phase.
When you said 2 years of engineering work, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. There's the schematic layouts, the PCB layouts for the device. There's the molding for the plastic cases. There is the certification process with UL.
What is that?
Well, basically, once you get your device to a point of manufacturability, then you can go into UL. You have to schedule it up with them. And there's
UL is?
I'm sorry?
What is UL?
UL is the testing laboratory that you see on your power cords and that type of thing. There are certain types of testing laboratories. UL is one of them. Okay. Met Labs is another. And you can go to any one of these certified testing laboratories, and they will test your device to see that it meets the specification. Basically, that you will do no harm to someone else. If you plug my device in, according to UL, I've met all their specifications, and I will do no harm to your kitchen, okay? Just like your radio or anything else that is UL certified.
Okay. So there was like regulatory hoops that you need to go through. There is some technology hoops that you need to go through. There is a personal hoops that you need to go through because you need to have mindset that you want to see this all the way to the end. And was there any disappointments throughout that, development phase?
Disappointments. Yeah, there's always challenges. There's always challenges in business, but as far as disappointments, sure. You look at the first prototype of the mold or the first items laid out. Even though you have your CAD software and everything else, once you get a physical piece in your hand, you have to reevaluate and evaluate the cost of going back and redoing the mold or going forward and working with the design issues that you see. There's also personal disappointments along the way. We worked a lot with subcontractors and being very clear with the subcontractor about what your design specifications are and what you expect to see and the budget you're working with. And when they sign up for that, make sure that you're holding them to task on that. As far as progressive payments, just like building a house or adding on to your house, it's the same type of mechanism that you need to use when working with subcontractors.
So there was not only you involved, you needed to outsource certain components or part of the whole project to make it doable for you, right?
That's correct. We were not hiring a team of engineers inside our company. The cost would have been prohibitive, so we subcontracted out and worked with a design house.
Does that mean that your time is like you spending more time by doing that versus like hiring someone full-time in-house that might cost way more in the beginning? Because I assume these people that you hire maybe not doing only your project at the time.
That's true. They're not doing only your project at the time, but that's how they can keep their costs lower, because they may be running 3 or 4 projects at a time, and there's always lags in your schedule, getting information back, answering their questions, that type of thing, where you'd have a person, in my opinion, on staff sitting idle. So in this way, outsourcing it to a design house could cost me a little bit more in some ways, but in other ways, it's an expense line. It's not an overhead line. So
what I'm trying to do is just for our listeners, if there is anybody out there listening that is maybe going through the process or considering going the process of creating something like you guys did, what is the steps that they can expect and what to know so they can better prepare?
Well, the steps first is to check your viability, not only with your friends and family, but check other sources of, is this really a good idea? Is there a market for your device? And if you think there is, then keep those in close advisory and then move forward. Make the decision. Am I going to go out and get a VC, a venture capitalist, to invest in my company or my idea? How much is that going to cost me as far as how much of the company are they going to take? And if that isn't what you want to do, then what do you have as a marketable product first off, and then leave the next innovation or the next rev of the product and the enhancements to the product, because as you go through building your product, it will continually evolve. And at some point, you've got to draw that line and cut it off. And say,
okay, this is a version 1, we're going to stop
exactly.
right here. Version 2, 2 years from now, right?
Correct.
So what do you do, like before you even start? How do you check that there's maybe something out there that is similar in the market, just that you're not aware of it?
Well, of course, Google searches and such, but one of the things that you want to be careful of is Google searches are subpoenable. Okay, so they can subpoena your IP and your information later on. So you want to involve some key people. You want to involve, of course, your corporate lawyer and get your corporate document in order. You want to involve an intellectual property attorney, okay, and have them search for you on your idea. And if you do come up with someone that is close, then you have to decide, am I going to compete or am I going to work with that other individual and pay them a royalty, basically license part of their technology, so that you can build your product in a time-effective manner and not get into patent infringement lawsuits. But you should be working with those key individuals to do all that.
So when you said that they were doing the research on your behalf, Why is that more advantageous than you doing it on your own?
Because the attorney is a protected research. So they can search, and if you continue to develop your idea, then they have the ability to say you didn't take that idea from someone else. So it's a protected
I see what you're
search.
saying. By you searching around, you kind of giving it the public or world, letting them know that you actually, after that, maybe same idea that exists out there, and what you're doing is just copycatting.
Yeah, and so basically what happens is the attorney can do that, and he can answer from a legal standpoint of, is this unique? Are you infringing? And if you are infringing, let's get an arrangement with the patent holder so that you can go forward.
Okay, well, see, this is a great point because we didn't even think about it before. Perfect. So when 2 years went by and you started from the little sketch on the plane, on the napkin, probably, all the way to the time that you actually got that real piece in your hand, and then what? What happened then?
Well, getting that real piece in the hand was the first prototype mold was almost like seeing your first child born, you know. With a how would you say, a delivery date of unknown. But I remember that well. I brought the prototype home for my wife and showed her, and we were all very excited about seeing that first prototype, the first stampings off the mold. But that process going down, since we'd been out talking to customers or potential customers before, we had actually lined up customers that were very excited about the product and were willing to put the product in the day we could start producing it. So as we worked through the engineering issues and we worked through the UL certification and that type of thing, we actually went into production, and the first couple of hundred units went straight out of production and into customers' hands. And they're still in their customers' hands today.
So what did you do to do that research? Because not only developing the product, but you also want to see, is this make sense for you to go and spend your time, money, and energy and everything else for this to be produced or not? So what did you do for your research?
Well, we actually went out and talked to senior living and independent living houses, companies initially.
So target was
the target was
citizens.
the independent living market initially. And because a few of the things, as I said, we all get distracted. But as we get older, we can get distracted much easier. And so we went out and talked to the independent living facilities and said, what do you think? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think you could be, you'd be interested in buying some of these units to test? And in all cases, they said yes. And so the first couple hundred prototype units we ran through, we brought them out, we installed them. In one case, it took a little bit longer for the person to install because they were going through a remodeling program with the HUD office. And they'd gone through the budget with the HUD office and said, we need to trim some stuff. And they looked at the line item, which our line item, and they said, well, maybe we should cut this. And the official said, no, I think you need to keep that, because they'd had a number of fire alarm calls and fire calls coming out. And every time they came out, that was a cost to them. And their insurance companies were saying, if you didn't do something, we're going to have to raise your rates. So
that's actually a good feedback that you got right there.
Yeah, and so they were our first customer, but by the time the grants and stuff had come through, they were actually our fourth or fifth customer down the road. So
perfect. I just want to ask the last question before we go in. If you know what you know right now, will you do the same thing back in 2008? Will you go this route again? Because now it's fine. Product is out, tested, how many years been on the market, people are using it, giving you feedback. It's probably on the version 17 or whatever, or 7, So, but if you look back, will you do it again?
In the short, yes, but I would do things differently. We learned by the School of Hard Knocks, and some of the things that I specified about keeping really close tabs on your subcontractors and having all those individual people in line, accountants, corporate attorneys, all that stuff. You look at these online certifications, or I can get this document, go down to your local SBA, get an attorney, get a bookkeeper, get an intellectual property attorney, and get that group of trusted advisors together.
Arm yourself with a good, advisory board.
Exactly.
Perfect. Why don't we take our first or second break for today? Today's guest is Dan Haugen. Dan is the owner of Cookstop, Stove Fire Protection Prevention. You can find him online, cookstop.com. Great story so far. I think if you are an inventor, or you're trying to invent something, or you're trying to see what step you should take in that whole process to protect and make yourself better in the whole process. I think we're learning some good tips from Dan. Before we go into the break, I just want to remind you that we are Hawaii Money Resource every Wednesday, 5 p.m. now, also at 95.1 FM or AM 760 KGU. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
.760 KGU.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
Okay, do we have everything ready for the trip?
Let's go through the list.
Laptop.
Check.
Tablet.
Check.
Smartphones.
Check and double check.
iDrive.
Check. Wait, what?
iDrive. We're flying cross-country with half a dozen devices. We're going to need our data backed up.
Oh, like our tax records, home movies, wedding pictures?
Exactly, and because it securely backs up all of our devices to one location in the cloud, no matter what happens to our gadgets, we're protected.
Is it safe?
It has military-grade encryption, so only we can access our files.
iDrive sounds great. So that means it must cost a fortune.
That's the best part. For less than $5 a month, I'm protecting our desktop, laptop, tablet, and smartphones. Plus, I signed up at iDrive.com with the promo code PROTECT. So I saved us 20% on the first year.
So does that mean we can upgrade to first class?
Nice try.
Did you know that car crashes are the #1 cause of teen deaths? Next time you're in a car with a friend who is driving recklessly, speak up, say something, anything. Because there's no spokesperson to prevent reckless driving. There's only you. A message from the Department of Transportation.
Every single year, millions of average Americans like you have their personal lives virtually destroyed. In an instant, you could lose control of your bank accounts, credit cards, and worse, your very reputation can be stolen and violated. If you or a loved one is a victim of identity theft, FastIDRecovery.com can help you get it all back. At FastIDRecovery.com, you can put your trust in experts in the field of credit score restoration, IRS fraud resolution, document and ID replacement, and more. Without a fully managed protection and restoration service like FastIDRecovery.com, it can take hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars to reclaim what identity thieves have stolen and fix the chaos they leave behind. Your peace of mind is as valuable as your assets, and FastIDRecovery.com will get everything back, including your sanity. Relief is a simple click away at FastIDRecovery.com. That's FastIDRecovery.com.
Achieving personal financial success can be complicated. Marko Mijuskovic can make it simpler. That's something very good to know in a world where the wrong financial decisions can be all too costly. Marko Mijuskovic, Vice President of Wealth Strategy Partners, has been helping people in Hawaii successfully organize and plan their finances for years. Marko uses an holistic approach to help you balance your current financial obligations as well as your future concerns. And he does this while keeping things simple. Organizing your finances is serious business, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Find out how Marko can help you make smart, informed decisions about your financial future. Call him and schedule your complimentary session and tell him your story. He's there to listen. The toll-free number to call is 877-695-2102. That's 877-695-2102. 877-695-2102. Marko Mijuskovic. You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource with financial advisor Marko Mijuskovic. If you'd like to speak to Marko, either on the air or after the show, call toll-free from Oahu and the Outer Islands, 877-695-2102. That's 877-695-2102.
Welcome back. You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource. My name is Marko Mijuskovic, senior partner at Wealth Strategy Partners, also certified exit planner. You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource every Wednesday night, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. You can also listen to our podcast at hawaiimoneyresource.com, hawaiimoneyresource.com. You will see that you'll be redirected to our Money Resource Media website, where you can listen to the business owners across the nation in a different state, including ours. That's our, pretty much we call them sister, brother, whatever radio stations over there, and co-hosts on those radio stations. You can also find us at businessexitplanninghawaii.com, businessexitplanninghawaii.com, for business owners that are looking to get out of the business eventually in style, meaning for the maximum amount of money and minimum taxes paid. That's how we gauge that. So all this good news, and the last good news for today is that we are not only at AM 760 anymore, we are also at 95.1 FM. We are evolving. This is our 7th year. We're getting into the 7th year since we started our radio show. Celebration, right? Party soon. Anyway, let's go back to our guest today, Dan Haugen. Dan is the owner of Cookstop. Cookstop is stovetop fire prevention. So judging by the title, you know what we're talking about. Thank you, Dan, for sharing the story, how you get into it, and all this process that you went through by, creating your invention and creating your products, and all these years, 2 years of research, development, creation, dealing with the subcontractors, attorneys, accountants, and everybody else just to get you where you're at right now. So why don't we try to paint the picture? I know people can go online to cookstop.com and see how the product looks. Why don't you just paint the picture for them and tell them what this product actually do for them?
Well, what this product will do is it will actually shut off the stove if there is unattended cooking. And what I mean is the product will monitor the current being drawn by the stove. So we can tell the difference between the clock and the burners being on. And if the burners are on and somebody's moving around in the kitchen, our product will see that, and we assume that you're paying attention. But if the stove is on and you're no motion in the kitchen, we assume that you've left. You've gotten distracted, maybe taken care of the kids, answered the front door, started talking story with the neighbors. And time, as we know, goes fast when we talk story with the neighbors. We'll start beeping at 20 seconds. Try to get your attention to come back. If you don't come back, we'll start beeping faster at 10 seconds. You don't come back and our counter reaches 0, we see the stove is still on, we shut it off. So we have a module that goes in behind the stove that is a computer-controlled relay system, and that monitors the current of the stove. And then we have the computer that mounts up underneath the cabinet. The device is about 10 inches long, and it gets power from the module behind the stove. So it runs off a very low voltage. And that will see the motion in the kitchen. It's also very programmable. In cases where you have family members or caregivers taking care of someone with the disease of dementia, the caregiver is always on alert for that family member. And the family members that suffering from that disease is unaware of their actions in some cases. And that person may have been the mother or the father. It depends. They may have been the primary source of support for the family when they were younger. And one of the things that disease does is it causes the person to get up in the middle of the night and try to cook. They think they're cooking for, in my case, my friend, her mother is 94 years old and tries to get up in the middle of the night and cook from the crew coming in from the field. They haven't had crews in the field for over 40 years. But in her mind,
somehow it's a playing the mind games, right?
Yeah, and so she was always on alert, always listening for her mother stirring, and that puts a lot of stress because it's like having a new baby in the house. You're always hearing that.
You don't get a good rest.
You don't get good rest. Alert. And it not only puts the person in danger, it puts the whole family in danger. So one of the things that we developed inside of our system is the ability to provide a lockout time. So you can actually lock the stove from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., and at 6 a.m. the stove will automatically be ready to go again. that can actually be extended to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if
there is no need for cooking.
If there's no need for cooking.
That's
but
smart.
then somebody says, well, what? I got a caregiver coming in that needs to cook. Well, we have a optional caregiver key. It's a little yellow handle fob, and it's synced to that device by the administrator. So when the caregiver comes in, they can cook, but they take the key, and the family member can't cook. So there's no more removing knobs or removing burners or any of that type of stuff.
Taking the stove out. Yeah.
We've heard lots of different things, and if we have time, I'd like to share a quick story.
Yeah, go ahead.
The one of the caregivers told us that they came over to Mabel's house, and Mabel wasn't supposed to cook anymore, so they took the knobs off. And Mabel, they came over one day. Mabel had found a pair of vice grips and clamped on the knob and the stem coming out of the stove. You weren't going to stop her from cooking. So what they did is they took all the burners out, and they put them in a locked cabinet. Well, this was good for a couple of months, and the caregiver came over, and she noticed there was a burner in the stove.
She picked the lock.
So, no, she didn't pick the lock. She was a little craftier than that. But what she had done, they opened up the cabinet, and there was 4 burners. And so they asked Mabel, she says, where'd this burner come from? And she sheepishly admitted that she had talked to her neighbor and told him that her burner wasn't working. Would they pick one up at Home Depot for them? And so she had been stashing it away in her nightstand along with a pair of vice grips that they hadn't found. And so she was actually cooking on her own without the caregivers knowing. But one day she had forgotten to remove it before the caregiver got there. So she was busted.
So I guess, how do you prevent, I'm just thinking about it, sometimes, you buy that crock pot or whatever, and you need to put something on the stove, and you need to cook it for extensive amount of hours, right, before everything is good cooked, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't need to be sitting in a kitchen or moving in the kitchen for a long period of time for that to be done. How do you deal with something like that? Well, you still need something to be cooked, but you just don't need to be present.
Yeah, so the thing is there, you need to make that conscious decision. And what we allow the administrator of the device to do is to make those choices. And so in one case, we have a button that can be programmed. We call it the one-button hold. And so basically it'll disable the motion sensor for X period of time. So you can actually simmer something for a long period of time or bake. But you have to be cautious as the administrator. If you're putting this in for your parent, then you want to make sure that it's not abused. Because I could be frying eggs and I could hit one-button hold. Okay? If it's a child that needs to come in, you could use a caregiver key and then use the one-button hold.
Okay, so it's mostly designed for the situation when there is some old senior citizen involved. What about the rest of the market?
Well, the rest,
because my question was probably from the rest of the market point. So I understand this situation. You need to be very careful and alert when it comes to the stove and cooking. But when you have the rest of the world, that this can definitely help as well, because you might not have an elderly person in the house. You might not have a people with the dementia and Alzheimer. How do you really how do you make this product available for the rest of the world?
Sure, and it is very much available and very much needed for the rest of the areas. The multifamily living, like you mentioned, that doesn't have sprinkler systems, or we look at ourselves as a proactive step. Even if you have sprinkler systems, you want to make sure that unattended cooking fires don't happen. We have a college campus in Chicago that deployed them in all their dormitories because of the inattentiveness of college students. Okay,
it's the same like a 94-year-old person.
pretty much. But and
funny.
So the thing is inattentive cooking is available, can happen to anyone, anytime. And so what we have is also the administrator in that case can say, I'm going to simmer something, and I can just hit the up arrow key and add a few more minutes to the device. The countdown timer is programmable. The additional minutes are programmable. All these things are available to the administrator to set up the environment for his facility.
Okay, so you thought about it. Was this originally put into the product in the version 1, or this was involvement of the product?
Some of those things were pretty early on in the product. One of the things that we found out, we were working with a lovely lady from Cornell University, that we had come across that was a specialist in seniors and aging, and we have a flashing light when we shut off the unit. And she said that could be distracting, and in some cases a person suffering from dementia could be aggravated by that flashing light. So one of the revisions that we put in was able to turn off the lights, and so that the administrator can choose to say, we'll just have a message in the display instead of this bright green flashing light. So there's been minor changes throughout the product.
How long this product been on the market?
This product first shipped in 2009.
So there is like quite a few years already. So how many different versions did you have since you started?
We have one physical version of the product, of the controller. We've had two versions of the power unit, and we came out with additional power units for the college environment because for some reason college students, not trying to talk bad, like to tamper with things. And so,
yeah, of course they do.
Our typical product will install in less than 20 to 25 minutes, depending upon if your wife needs to have you clean under the stove or not. But basically, in a college environment, college students could simply pull out the stove, unplug our unit, and plug the stove directly in. So we've developed a device that goes right into what's called the junction box. So it replaces your electrical outlet. And that way, when the student pulls out the stove, they see it's part of the hardwired environment, and that's become very popular, not only with colleges but with also supportive housing.
So where this product is currently sitting? Like what kind of and where are you at? Like across the nation? Mention some of your places where you at.
So we're in supportive housing in Canada and the U.S. We ship our certification through UL was for the U.S. and CSA certification. As I mentioned, college campuses in Chicago, some other campuses on the East Coast we're at. Supportive housing last year in the VA in the East Coast. Also, some very big supportive housing. Salvation Army in California has put the product into our into their facilities.
Perfect. What is the next? Well, let's take a break and give you a little rest, and then we're going to wrap up today's show is with Dan Haugen. Dan is the owner of Cookstop, Stovetop Fire Prevention. Cookstop.com is the website. This is something that I think, I'm not sure I didn't ask you this, maybe I can ask you right now. What is the market exposure here in Hawaii?
The market here in Hawaii is families that are caring for their seniors, and also the independent living, and especially multifamily living.
So you have a presence in Hawaii? We
have a few units in Hawaii right now. We just attended the BIA remodeling show, and we plan to come back to Hawaii and go to the senior fair. You can all come down to see us at booth 323 if you want to stop into the senior fair coming up at the end of September here.
Perfect. Why don't we take a break? Then we'll be right back. My name is Marko Mijuskovic. You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource. Don't forget, we are on FM and AM 760 KGU and 95.1 FM. We'll be right back.
.760 KGU.
Part of the Wall Street Business Network.
It's a medical breakthrough, a doctor's prescription to help prevent cancer and improve survival rates. But you don't go to the pharmacy, you go to the supermarket for fruits, vegetables, and other high-fiber vegetarian foods. Side effects may include increased energy, healthy weight loss, and lower cholesterol. For a free recipe booklet, call 866-906-WELL or visit cancerproject.org. This message brought to you by the Cancer Project, committed to preventing cancer and improving survival.
We all want to retire someday, but how will you afford it? Marko Mijuskovic here, financial advisor for Wealth Strategy Partners. Times are tough, but nothing brings comfort and security like having a financial strategy. Some financial strategies can be complicated, all those numbers and percentage points. It makes your head spin, but that's why I created an easier to understand system called Retirement Income Timeline. Let me analyze your situation using my retirement income timeline, and I'll show you how you may be able to turn your money worries of today into a stress-free retirement of tomorrow. It's easy. Just call me and I'll assist you. Get your personal retirement income timeline by me, Marko Mijuskovic, today. Call 695-2102, 695-2102.
Registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, abbreviated PAS, 7 Hanover Square, New York, 10004. Securities products or services and advisory services are offered through PAS, a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. 888-600-4667. PAS is a member FINRA SIPC.
Every single year, millions of average Americans like you have their personal lives virtually destroyed. In an instant, you could lose control of your bank accounts, credit cards, and worse, your very reputation can be stolen and violated. If you or a loved one is a victim of identity theft, FastIDRecovery.com can help you get it all back. At FastIDRecovery.com, you can put your trust in experts in the field of credit score restoration, IRS fraud resolution, document and ID replacement, and more. Without a fully managed protection and restoration service like FastIDRecovery.com, it can take hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars to reclaim what identity thieves have stolen and fix the chaos they leave behind. Your peace of mind is as valuable as your assets, and FastIDRecovery.com will get everything back, including your sanity. Relief is a simple click away at FastIDRecovery.com. That's FastIDRecovery.com.
Achieving personal financial success can be complicated. Marko Mijuskovic can make it simpler. That's something very good to know in a world where the wrong financial decisions can be all too costly. Marko Mijuskovic, Vice President of Wealth Strategy Partners, has been helping people in Hawaii successfully organize and plan their finances for years. Marko uses an holistic approach to help you balance your current financial obligations as well as your future concerns. And he does this while keeping things simple. Organizing your finances is serious business, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Find out how Marko can help you make smart, informed decisions about your financial future. Call him and schedule your complimentary session and tell him your story. He's there to listen. The toll-free number to call is 877-695-2102. That's 877-695-2102. 877-695-2102. Marko Mijuskovic. You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource with financial advisor Marko Mijuskovic. If you'd like to speak to Marko, either on the air or after the show, call toll-free from Oahu and the Outer Islands, 877-695-2102. That's 877-695-2102.
Welcome back. You're listening to Hawaii Money Resource. My name is Marko Mijuskovic, Senior Partner of Wealth Strategy Partners, also Certified Exit Planner, and you're listening to Hawaii Money Resource every Wednesday night, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Hawaii Money Resource been around since 2011, sharing stories, and today we have another great story that we were sharing with you. If you missed our today's show, by any chance, don't worry, because the podcast will be up shortly. Let's go back to Dan. Dan, we have a few minutes left before we end up today's radio show with you. Great story. I mean, this is something that I think we have a really good timing with this story, especially what's going on here in Hawaii when it comes to the fires and apartment buildings going on in flames and people are getting hurt or dying. Before we go, and finish the show, I want to ask you a couple of questions. Like, first question is, what's your future? Where are you going with this?
Well, we're in the process right now of evolving the product. Our product is at a point now where we're looking with the Internet of Things and other enhancements with the connectivity. We are working with several major alarm companies in early discussions right now to integrate with their systems. So stay tuned for more options as we come
I guess
forward.
We're going to have a version 2 of this radio show maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
Second question, just 20 seconds. What is your exit strategy out of this business?
Well, I think even if I'm not here, I'd like to see the product continue and the devices continue. Safety for everyone is a primary concern. And so we're looking down the road, probably 6 years, to have an exit strategy with an acquisition of some sort.
Well, probably someone will pick you up. Last question, 10 seconds. Word of wisdom for someone who is maybe in a process of developing some product or something new. Give us your word of wisdom. 10 seconds.
10 seconds. All right. Don't go it alone. Talk to experts. Family advice is good, but it's not expert advice.
Perfect. Today's guest is Dan Haugen. Dan is the owner of Cookstop, Stovetop Fire Prevention. You can find him online, cookstop.com. Thank you so much, Dan. My name is Marko Mijuskovic, Senior Partner at Wealth Strategy Partners, also Certified Exit Planner. Another great show. Don't forget to check us online, HawaiiMoneyResource.com, HawaiiMoneyResource.com, or AM 760 every Wednesday night, also 95.1 FM. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Living Balance Sheet and the Living Balance Sheet logo are registered service marks of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, New York, New York. The graphics and text used herein are the exclusive property of Guardian and protected under U.S. and international copyright laws. Copyright 2005 to 2011. The Guardian Life Insurance Company of America. This show is for informational purposes only. Individual risk tolerance and investment objectives must be reviewed prior to making any specific recommendations. Marko Mijuskovic is a registered representative and financial advisor for Park Avenue Securities, LLC, 7 Hanover Square, New York, New York, 10004. Securities products, services, and advisory services are offered through Park Avenue Securities, a registered broker-dealer and investment advisor. 888-600-4667. Financial representative, the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, New York, New York. Park Avenue Securities is an indirect, wholly owned subsidiary of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America. Wealth Strategy Partners is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Park Avenue Securities or the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America. Park Avenue Securities is a member FINRA SIPC.